Day 7, COVID-19 lockdown South Africa, 2nd of April 2020. There is a feel of extra calm around my surroundings this morning, and it's almost like a stillness, almost eerie. But the strange thing is that it's very peaceful. Now, I'm not too sure whether you could put the words like eerie and peaceful in the same sentence and find logic in that. The book of choice this morning, Diary of Anne Frank. I need to tell you what the price of this book was, and you can figure out just how old it is. 70 cents. This book was first published in 1947, and this is the 1972 edition. It's a number of years. Let's not do the math there. So at the back, there's a quote by Anne. She says, "I want to go on living after my death, and therefore I'm grateful to God for giving me this gift of expressing all that is in me." The one entry of Anne's that I really seem to enjoy over the years, I wouldn't say enjoy because this is a sad book, but she goes into detail of how they're given the soup and pudding if possible, the times that they do things, etc. And I'm just going to very quickly read. This is page 90 where I've got my bookmark. And it says, "Today I'm going to take lunch. It's 12:30, and she tells you what's going on. Then she says 1:45, 1:00, 1:15, 1:45. Now, when you look at the time that this was written, the words journal and diary overlapped. And what I'm going to touch on today is the benefit of keeping a journal. I'm talking about not a diary, but a therapeutic journal. Of course, if you're keeping diaries and you're keeping your own journals that are not based on therapeutic journals, then by all means go ahead. If that's working for you, that's something that's going to keep you happy. We're in lockdown, and do what makes you happy more than anything else. So let me tell you about journaling and therapeutic journaling. Now, please understand, this is not a therapy session. This is me sharing ways for you to cope during lockdown. And in no way should this be taken, as a session that you're having, because it certainly isn't. It is a very generalized approach to ways that you can spend your lockdown. So let's look at journaling. Let's get back to this topic. Prior to 1960, it was synonymous. Journals, diaries, it was regarded as one thing. You kept a journal, you kept a diary, that was acceptable. However, now, if you look at it from a therapeutic point, there are some technicalities in keeping a journal and what you should do and what you shouldn't do in order for the journal to be of benefit to you. So here was a psychologist in 1960, Dr. Ira Progoff. And it was Dr. Progoff who started this journaling therapy method, pioneering it. And it was actually very, very interesting because, people became, if you look at the 60s, people were more literate or moving towards literacy then. And they were able to express themselves. And then, of course, after that came, it was the hippies, the flower children. It was a whole different era. And the 50s and 60s, when we start looking at the 60s, emotions were expressed a lot more. Think about the Beatles, think about all that kind of thing, where we were becoming more in tune with how we felt. And it wasn't embarrassing to have to express it, even if it was in writing. So anyways, a technical journal, one for therapeutic purposes, you would need something, as a prompt. And a prompt could be anything. Then it was regarded as maybe photographs. I would go further to say a document can be a prompt. And now that we have internet and technology, something you watch in the news, something you watch on your social media, anything could be a prompt. And it's good to express your feelings about that prompt. For example, let us say you've received something in the mail and it's your bills. Right? We're just starting a new month. There's a lot of commitments that have to be seen to, and it's invoking certain feelings in you. You are concerned. So what you do is, you're more than welcome to take that as your prompt and to make the entry how you feel about it in this journal. The other thing that does work very well is writing letters. You can write a letter to yourself, you can write a letter to somebody else, but it's addressing concerns to someone or to yourself And when you write a letter, it's like, I'm serious about this and I'm putting this down in writing and this is how I feel. Make sure that you structure your time. There's nothing worse than having unplanned journaling, because that's when you start hitting writer's block. And, the journal is not about writing a book. If this journal gets published, well and good. If it doesn't get published, it's your personal document. You're not writing this for the sake of publishing it. So you need to curb your inner critic, be honest with yourself, and give yourself a set amount of time. Okay, I'm passionate about writing. If I dared to do this exercise, I could sit for a long time, uncontrolled. But I too would have writer's block. And we all know 45 minutes is generally maximum that the human brain can just carry on concentrating without a break. So be kind to yourself in whatever you do. Just take it easy with this journal writing. You're expressing yourself. You're giving yourself some form of therapy. Now, in all that, there are other things that you need to look at. There are times when we go back to writing things and it opens up wounds. It can be the most damaging thing to you. If you find that you're in that state of mind, please don't do these entries. Please don't open up a can of worms. Please don't bring back things that are going to make you feel worse. My thought behind using or suggesting this methodology is to pull you through these times that are difficult and not for you to have worse issues to deal with. Things like that, you would need a one-on-one session with a therapist to do that. This is just to pull you through, okay? With young mothers, I find what works very well. The little babies who are unable to speak at this point in time. And okay, it can be quite frustrating bringing up a little child. It's not that easy. So instead of getting angry and losing their tempers with the child, I've read some of the sweetest entries in journals where they've actually told those little babies how they feel and how they made the parents feel. So these things can, down the line when you save it and you read it, these can actually be treasures that you'll pass down one day. It all depends on how you're going to handle it. That said and done, again, I'm saying, remember, this is not a therapy session I'm offering you. I'm offering you ways and means to go through lockdown in South Africa. And yeah, it's getting very real there. Our health fraternity, public hospitals, I've heard from 2 this morning that they are really running short of protective wear. And then I've also received, advertisements and things like that. And I've looked at masks and the likes of it that can be used again. But there's a major cost. And, it's a bit sad because the most essential things are becoming luxuries now. And that's where cause for concern, thought-provoking. Our minister, I reviewed his speech last night, had a look at that again. And they're really doing their best, that whole group, they're honestly doing their best. And we have a lot to be grateful for, that he doesn't deny that, there's a lot of untested positive people out there. But the reality is that what we expected 2 weeks ago and what has happened or what is happening, it's really heartening to know that it's not as bad. But how much better will it be if everybody listens and toes the line? That being said, let me end with Pythagoras. I think everybody who did mathematics will remember him as somebody they didn't really like so much. But all the same, Pythagoras' words: learn to be silent. Let your quiet mind listen and absorb. Much love, much blessings of peace. And until we meet again, may God forever hold you in the palm of his hand.